When they go to meet with the president, the only thing they repeat over in their heads over and over is don't forget to swallow.
Right. But they get what they want. Hi, everyone. This is Pivot from New York Magazine and the Vox Media Podcast Network. I'm Kara Swisher, and Scott was late for my birthday.
Look, this is a big one, 73.
It's not 73. That's you, my friend.
I'm much younger than you. I'm much younger than you.
By like 2 months.
I'm much younger than you. And plus for men, 60 is the new 40, and for women, 30 is the new 80.
Okay.
Why does that make me happy? Let's talk. Happy birthday, Kara. I mean, you literally are the longest serving tech journalist. I remember the first interview you did about technology was talking to the guy who invented fire.
That was a good technology.
That's good.
That was a hell of a good technology.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a lot to get to today.
Or when you when you interviewed that company, the hottest startup that it had started this thing called electricity.
Right.
Yeah.
I got that. What else? Dirt. When I talked to the guy who invented dirt.
No, you're so old. You interviewed Zuckerberg back when he had human emotions.
He never did. He never
that's
did.
Pretty good. That's
he
pretty
never
good.
did. So that's not true. Anyway, we've got a lot to get to today. There is a lot to get to, including Trump calling affordability a hoax, which is not a good idea. Australia's new social media ban. There's so much going on. But first, Disney just announced a $1 billion equity investment in OpenAI and will allow users to make videos with its characters on Sora. Characters available through the deal will include Mickey Mouse and Cinderella, as well as Frozen. The agreements do not include any talent likeness or voices, meaning the people, like the John Cena's, whoever, the different people that are in their movies. Scott, I don't want to know what you want to make Mickey Mouse do, but what do you think of this? This is interesting. And I actually texted Iger. I go, look at you, Mr. Tech. And but it was interesting, sort of, especially since OpenAI really needs a win right now, which we'll go into in a minute. But any thoughts on this?
I think it's smart of both of them. I probably would have, Disney gets to do what it wants, but I probably would have gone with Google and Gemini. But I think it's smart. Disney needs some AI tech pixie dust over a company that is, literally, Iger is the guy that volunteered to go back to Vietnam, and he's getting,
fragged,
getting,
as they say,
shot up everywhere.
Yeah, his ass fragged is the expression you're looking for.
Yeah. Instead, he could just be sitting on a beach somewhere heckling from the cheap seats about the new CEO facing all this bullshit. Mm-hmm. But anyways, he's back. But to announce, this is a great press release for Disney. The IP and the characters are really interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
It's good for
I don't know if it amounts to anything.
Yeah, I think all these people will be doing these deals, right?
Sure.
Like, there's not a media company. I thought Joanna Stern was funny. She goes, look at this hype. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my bubble's complete? Which was cute. There's so many good jokes.
What's weird is they did sort of their, what I'll call their tired characters. Mickey Mouse and Cinderella, I sort of get, maybe it's because I've aged out of that shit, but.
No, they're old ones. My kids know Mickey Mouse, and they do like Cinderella. Clara likes Cinderella. But the main characters are the new ones, like the Frozen characters, right. Or Moana.
Is that a Disney character?
Moana's one. They're coming out with live versions of, I think, there's a new Frozen coming out in 2026, and I think the live version of Moana is coming out. There's a trailer for it. But yeah, and yes, I would agree with you. I don't think they're picking the most recent characters that kids today like, but they're classics, right? Right.
This is smart for both of them. I don't know if it's going to amount to anything, but it's a good press release.
No lawsuits.
Yeah, it's smart, and the question is, or what I would want to know, is does it end up being some sort of supporting evidence for why OpenAI should not be using other characters and identities when they're willing to pay for these ones, but not others?
It just depends on what I would use. What's the difference? You're in for a dime, you're in for a dollar. People are stealing it anyway. Why not have it licensed and get money from it? I don't know. It just seems like, look, this is inevitable that they're either going to steal it. And one thing that happened with YouTube is as it took too long, right, to do what is now very lucrative for everybody. Right. And the question is, who is it more lucrative for? But it's inevitable. And so I think, YouTube could have done it sooner. And the companies, instead of, remember, Philippe Dauman did the lawsuit. they were going to steal it anyway, guys. So figure out a way you can do a deal with them. And I think a lot of them, including TikTok, is open to doing deals with, is wanting and open to doing deals with these companies, and they should, as long as it protects their right. It puts you in partnership with them to get rid of cheaters, I guess, presumably.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole Disney, I'm not sure it's just so unrealistic and biased against men. Like Snow White lived in the woods with 7 men,
God,
and somehow
stop
none
it.
of them were emotionally available. And by the way, the big moral lesson from Aladdin is that theft is wrong unless you're hot and have a pet monkey with main character energy.
Do you know when you watch that, they still have the "this is a really tasteless movie" warning on it when you watch it, which is interesting. Like depictions of Arab figures and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just interesting. Same thing on. There's a couple of movies like that. When I was just watching, I have to say though, one that you put the older ones up. Clara loves Mermaid. She loves Cinderella. She loves Snow White. She likes the new Snow White, the old Snow White. Anyway, and so
Winnie Pooh is the original influencer. He's naked, addicted to honey, and lives with a bunch of deeply dysfunctional woodland friends.
Okay. All right. Enough fragging of poor Bob Iger. But speaking of AI, speaking of fragging, President Trump will allow Nvidia to sell H200 chips to China. Reactions to the move are muted, actually negative, with Nvidia stock slightly down. Critics warning it could advance Chinese AI capabilities. Gosh, the Wall Street Journal really took him to town on this thing. Essentially, and everybody did. Ian Bremmer did, a whole bunch of people. And the idea is like, look, they're getting all the stuff, and Nvidia is getting what it wants. That's it. And the American public doesn't benefit in any way from this. So it seems like Jensen Huang's, full court press of wearing his leather jacket and hanging around Donald Trump and praising him has worked here. This is what he wanted.
Yeah, I'm mixed on this because when we didn't sell them our chips, it feels to me like they got to work on workarounds. I think the policy, it's like, this is why we need Gia Raimondo back in charge of this shit, because this stuff is not black and white. And I like the idea of slowballing it. And that is giving them enough access to our chips such that they didn't make a statewide massive investment in innovation of their own. In other words, like cable companies would pay content companies just enough such that it didn't make sense for them to go to other means of distribution, but not enough such that they were more powerful than the distribution players. I would have just tried to get every economist in the room and say, okay, how can we give the Chinese just enough chip technology that it grows our economy and our champions, but we still maintain a lead? Because when we did embargo, there was a very solid argument that all you do when you embargo China from doing this is they come up with workarounds that are really innovative. So the problems I have are autonomous weapons, supercomputing, military simulations, and the problem is with high-end GPUs, it can dramatically reduce the training time per like combat algorithms and missile targeting and cyber warfare and drone storms. And the reality is I just don't trust Hegseth to get in a room with our commerce secretary and kind of figure this shit out on a thoughtful level. I think essentially Jensen Huang has likely said, we're very supportive of you, you're handsome, and Nvidia should get involved in your next renovation. And
right, exactly.
So I don't, unfortunately, I dislike this almost as much. It's probably more impactful, but no less or more egregious than Witkoff's kids and the Trump kids getting money for their shitcoin investment in exchange for us agreeing to sell chips to the UAE, who has not proven that they don't have a leaky boat in terms of sending chip technology to Russia or China itself.
Go ahead.
We just don't have thoughtful people figuring this shit out.
I have to say, the Journal was very explicit. President Trump said this week he will let Nvidia sell its H200 chips to China in return for U.S. Treasury getting 25% cut of the sales. The Indians struck a better deal when they sold Manhattan to the Dutch. Why would the president give away one of America's chief technological advantage to an adversary and its chief economic competitor? And they do say they're going to do it anyway, but he said, yet now Mr. Trump wants to sell the advanced H200 without strings. The question is why Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has lobbied for loosening the restrictions. The company's friends in the White House argued that doing so could retard China's drive to develop competing chips and make its AI developers dependent on U.S. chips. That's their best argument. And it went on to say, no, this is really bad on and what we get is bupkis, essentially.
That's a great point. We should have, at a minimum, we should have gotten more. If you look at, in the last 5 years, it's gone from 17% of exports to the U.S. to 10%. They have vastly reduced their dependence on us. I get that. What is asymmetric in the trading relationship with everybody is that China, since 2019, has increased its exports 40%.
Correct. That's what they were saying. We got more. Yeah.
Meanwhile, has only increased their imports, buying other people's products, by 1%. So they've decided, we'll sell you everything. We, at a minimum, should have extracted a pound of flesh here that said, okay, need to open your markets for the following things for us. But it's not only that, the waterfall effect. Huawei will be a much more competitive product.
And they make great products. And this is the last line. We sure hope Mr. Trump isn't doing this for the Nvidia's 25% tax payments to Treasury. The Constitution vests taxing power in Congress, yet Mr. Trump is essentially trading national security for pennies on the dollar. So I would agree. He's gotten nothing for this. Even with the H20 chips, we got some rare earth minerals. I think at the time, he said the administration agreed, but they put more restrictions in October. So this is stupid. He's the worst deal maker in America. Anywhere.
We gave a strategic competitor AI progress, stronger military capability, likely a more kind of self-sufficient or innovative tech ecosystem, while exposing all of our own firms to regulatory, geopolitical, and long-term competitive risks. And in exchange, what we got was Nvidia stock's going to go up.
Right. Okay. And 25, whatever. It's really, Jensen Huang is the most, and I mean this as a compliment, manipulative CEO there is. And he gets what he wants. And it's all good for Nvidia. But
I hate to say this, but Jensen and Ted Sarandos and all these guys who, when they go to meet with the president, the only thing they repeat over in their heads over and over is, don't forget to swallow.
Right.
These guys are the most obsequious.
But they get what they want.
But that's I hate to say, that's their job.
They were there yesterday. And
it's
of course,
our job to elect people who will
by the
push
way, they
back
were there
on
yesterday.
this bullshit.
That Fed, whatever, he's losing his mind. All right. Speaking of losing your mind, Trump says it's imperative that CNN be sold in Warner Brothers deal. The president is not supposed to say things like this, but of course, whatever, it's this one. Conveniently, David Ellison has reportedly told Trump officials if Paramount wins out, he'll make sweeping changes at CNN. What a cuck he is. Although Trump got a little testy with the Ellisons this week, lashing out on Truth Social after a 60 Minutes ran an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Meanwhile, Ellison has been pitching Warner shareholders directly. He got apparently Mario Gabelli interested, trying to tender their shares. I feel like I've talked to a lot of people here all this week, and money's going to win out here, but people would have lost their minds if and this was in the Wall Street Journal also, that he has told them he will change CNN as part of the deal. When one of Oliver Darcy told me when he tried to get a comment, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, they didn't even deny it, that they were doing that, making this paper, we'll stop CNN from being so mean to you, Mr. President, if you give us thing. That would have been a 4-alarm journalistic fire at any other time, not with these.
Well, imagine if Obama had said that when Fox was trying to merge with Disney or whatever it was.
Exactly. I'm not even going to imagine it. It's bad. It's bad now. It's bad then. It's bad all the time. I mean, again, it sort of absolutely solidifies. I'm walking right out of there the day they get there. Like, I'm walking. I mean, there's no way I'm working for these terrible people. But and I said that on an interview with Rachel Maddow because she was asking me. But money. Let's go to the deal. Regardless of what they do with CNN and what they're doing is heinous. What they're considering doing is heinous. The money wins out here. It's if they go up to 34. I understand they will get this. They will get this.
Yeah, I thought we had a really productive conversation around this. And the way this is supposed to work is that the one with the most money wins,
Right.
at least initially. At least
Yeah.
initially. It's meant to be a competition. It doesn't fucking matter what the president thinks, or it shouldn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
And quite frankly, it doesn't
investors
matter.
matter.
It doesn't matter who podcasters think would be quote unquote better owners. The person that shows up with the biggest check in capitalism in a single class shareholder company, which this is, gets the prize. And then, subject to the following, regulators bring in economists and econometrics experts and consumer behavior experts, and they try and discern whether or not the very valid argument you made that this is in fact one big market for eyeballs, or if it's a distinct market because it's original content creation and a subscriber model, and they make a call around whether or not this will reduce competition and leak value and leverage from consumers and labor to the shareholders of the consolidated ecosystem or not. And then it goes through an additional, I think it's called, I used to do this for a living. And then it goes through something called I think it's called a CFIUS review that says, all right.
Which they're just under. They just made it so they're just under, just so you know. But go ahead.
They're just under.
All the Mideast countries in this deal, what they did is they manipulated it so that these numbers, that it doesn't have to go through a CFIUS review.
The bottom line is there should be a national security review that says.
But there's not going to be because of the way they designed it.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about what should happen.
Correct.
Look,
right.
what will happen is totally like upper grabs in a corrupt kleptocracy that is a mix between 60s East Germany, 30s Germany, a kleptocracy and a kakistocracy. Pick your ocracy that's just fucking stupid or evil. But the way it should work is biggest check wins initially. Then it goes under antitrust review by thoughtful people to figure out if it's going to reduce competition and harm consumers and labor. And then it should go under national security review. And let me be clear. I actually don't think raising money out of the Gulf for an acquisition like this, I don't perceive that as a threat.
Oh, come on. It's media. We lost our minds
Hold
when.
on.
Okay,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
I was the largest shareholder on the board of the New York Times. I got to meet with the editorial board once and couldn't say anything and had absolutely no influence over the editorial product there. And I had 2 seats on the board.
Right.
So, and also we have to keep in mind that all the money right now is in the Gulf. And if we want access to our capital for our companies to create more competition and more tax revenue, at some point we need to access that capital. Having said that, I would like a review by people much smarter than me to go, this is why it's a risk to our free speech and they will have undue influence. Or someone go, if you put these safeguards in place, it's just a cheap source of capital. My point is, there are people who do this for a living and are really good at this and should be part of a review. Instead, it's based on the blood sugar level and the opinion, unfortunately, of the president, who gives him money, and what TV anchor or podcast he listened to most recently. We have institutions and experts, and let me use the word, which has become a dirty word. We have experts for a reason.
All right, let me interject here.
Sure.
First of all, they're designing it so they also had Tencent in here until they were replaced. But Tencent he had come out. They knew that would.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
First of all, they hid the idea of they didn't hide it, but they put it on one of the last pages of the Saudis and the others were involved. Secondly, they added Jared Kushner just to put icing on this shitty cake. Thirdly, they had Tencent in there and then they didn't. I mean, this is how they're thinking, right? And honestly, I want to know, Larry, if you're so fucking rich, why don't you just pay for it? If you believe in this so much, you're an American. It's an American media company. Why do you need their money? I get why you would get it. I'm not unsophisticated. But here's what it does. There's a woman, Gail Slater at Antitrust. She's well regarded. He has now put her in such a fucking jam. Like she can't do her job because now she's sucked up into politics versus doing a real antitrust look at this, right? As we talked about, which is streaming prices, where's the market, et cetera. That's an issue. It has also put the CFIUS people in a jam because they can't look at this, which is their job. And by the way, I don't even trust them anymore, given all the yutzes and yahoos. They put a person in charge of FEMA that was an election denialist, like a really severe one, as opposed to just a sort of casual garden variety election denier. It's just they're putting incompetence and loyalists in place, and nobody's going to be able to do their job here because of what Trump is doing and how he has been staffing his administration and how the only thing that I find amusing is that he's not sort of just giving in to the Ellisons, he's making them beg for it, essentially, by kissing up to Ted Sarandos. Now, the question is, will Netflix raise its price? Will it say, do an all-cash deal, go to 30, and then have that stub of a company, which is the CNN and the cable? The question is whether Netflix what Bill Cohen had talked to me about and he's written about is they go to 30, and then the question is, what's the value of that stub? Ellison's are valuing it at $1, or a little more than $1, and others, like pretty well-known analysts, are valuing it at anywhere from $3 to $5. And so that makes their deal higher than the Ellisons. But what if the Ellisons just go to 34 cash? There's, that's the whole situation. I think most of the ARBs just want the money and move along, right? Presumably.
Oh, yeah, they're this is like the venture capital community. Whoever comes up with 2 cents more, I'll make out with my cousin.
You didn't make out with your cousin, did you?
I did.
No.
And you know what? He's a very good kisser. Snow White asked for an AI for relationship advice.
Yeah.
And it responded, maybe don't move in with 7 dudes from Craigslist next time.
Very
I like
funny.
that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Look,
anyway.
I don't. This is why 2/3 of mergers don't work, and it's playing out here.
Right.
We'll wring our hands, but about antitrust, about someone in the Gulf having undue influence over CNN, around the Ellisons getting their nose so far up Trump's ass that they'll guarantee that they'll just start filling CNN with Tucker Carlson on 24-hour loop or something. But this is why this acquisition will most likely fail from a shareholder perspective. And that is, one, we have a tendency as an acquirer to overestimate synergies, underestimate cultural impact. And 3, more than anything, testosterone gets involved. And that is, I can guarantee you that when all of these companies were looking at this is a company that was trading at $9 a share recently.
7. I thought, was it down at 7 or something?
That all of these guys said, okay, scarce assets, one-of-a-kind properties. We don't want this in the hands of competitors. Wow, this is an opportunity to consolidate the streaming market in Netflix. Wow, we really need this to bulk up Paramount. We could do great things with the cable and the streaming, Comcast, and we need something to reignite growth. They all came up with really strong strategic reasons to stretch to, all right, if we could get this for 19, maybe 20, we can't go any higher than 24.
Which was the initial offer from David Ellison.
Right. We can't go any higher than 24. And this is what happens.
Right.
Testosterone takes
it's like
over.
Gambling.
And you think,
it is. It's like,
we're only a couple bucks away from being king and taking the ultimate victory lap and pulling. If Ellison, if he massively overpays for this thing, every business cover will be the winner.
Yeah.
The winner.
Yeah.
And we're not going to realize.
It's AOL Time Warner with Ted Turner and Steve Case.
Yeah. The winner. What a deal of the century. And Steve Case is like, oh my God, I just sold this guy a bag of shit.
Yeah. That's what David Zaslav was thinking.
But these guys have already, I can promise you, they have already blown way beyond a price they would have never, ever considered.
They can't make it work. They cannot. It's just it's a yacht. Like, it's a yacht that's leaking, and that's what he's bought. I mean, the problem is, but if you just, on the face of it, in terms of synergies, Comcast or Netflix are the better buyers. They have all, like, Netflix could blow out Game of Thrones. They could blow out. They have the worldwide distribution network. They could do a lot with this, and
and they're shopping with expensive stock. Their credit card is fully loaded.
Exactly. Right. Well, not as expensive as it was, but they were the best owner. Between these two, by every single metric, they're the better owner. And I know
when you
say
better, do you mean in terms of synergy? What do you mean?
Synergy, how it works, what they're not going to do as many layoffs. And the only thing CBS, this whole gang, can do is put together like problematic assets, and they don't have a plan for doing anything else. I mean, the only thing that's happening is, as I've said before, David Ellison is a very nice guy, but he's monumentally unqualified to do this. That hasn't stopped him, but he is the oldest boy with daddy's backing, and that's the prescription for a bad merger.
Okay.
Also, I don't think his movies made so much money.
Okay, and Zaslav's going to walk away with $1 billion for destroying value.
Winner.
I mean, we can make a big and
speaking of winner,
and Netflix is, in my view, who I love, is going to basically end game streaming, and prices are going to go up. I think you can make but here's the thing. We don't get to decide who would be qualitatively the best owner or the worst.
Right.
The guy who runs AT&T is a really smart, nice man. I like him a lot. He was probably the wrong owner for CNN.
Yeah, I agree.
But he showed up with the biggest check. So
That's
Jeff
right.
Bewkes said, congrats, it's yours.
That guy, smart. Another smart guy. He got out when the getting's good.
Okay, hold on. Just to pause there.
But he did call Netflix the Albanians. Let's not let him forget that one.
He made a one-sentence stupid remark that's haunted him the rest of his life.
It's a really bad one.
But that is dwarfed by, guess who decided to sell magazines at their peak? He
Jeff
did.
Bewkes.
Guess who decided to sell the cable part of his company at the peak? And by the way, guess who decided to sell the assets of Time Warner at their peak?
Jeff fucking Bewkes.
Because
the
this
best
is what
Albanian
CEOs,
there is.
this is where CEOs
matter.
Where they're, and I'm going to differentiate between men and women. I don't think Ruth Porat, I think women are different than men, and it's okay as long as you sanctify women and call all men predators and idiots. But I think on a certain level, you would have to acknowledge if Ruth Porat was running these companies, there's no fucking way she'd be at $34 a share.
No, she wouldn't.
She'd be like, okay, I don't need to have the biggest dick and win this thing. I'm here for shareholders.
Yeah.
And the thing that CEOs are really not good at, but they get all jonesed up about, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The guy who ran B of A just kept acquiring everything and destroyed a ton of shareholder value.
Yeah.
What CEOs are not good at, going back to my, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I remember saying to Arthur Sulzberger in the New York Times, I'm like, why the fuck aren't we selling About.com? This is shit. This is shit business. We could sell it for $1 billion right now. But they wanted to accessorize an analog outfit with digital earrings.
Right.
CEOs are terrible at selling assets at the right time.
Why don't you give then David Zaslav the same hand job you're giving Jeff Bewkes here? Just curious.
David's doing his job, but Jeff Bewkes, you know, who probably made $100 or $200 million, made billions for shareholders.
Yes.
Zaslav has basically said, you fucked up investing in my company. You should invest in the S&P. I'm barely going to get you your money back. But by the way, I'm going to walk off with $1 billion.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair. He's barely getting their money back.
If Musk creates $7 trillion in incremental shareholder value at Tesla, I've said this on the record.
I know.
I'm okay with him getting $1 trillion. If Mickey Drexler, I remember when Mickey Drexler made $1 billion at the Gap, and there was this was in the 90s, and there was all this like hullabaloo, and I'm like, he's added $14 billion in shareholder value.
I agree.
The problem with Zaslav or Marissa Mayer or Adam Newman is they walk off with hundreds of millions or billions for destroying shareholder value.
Didn't 10x it. Yeah, you're right. I go. Okay, we'll see where this goes. But I'll tell you, Kara Swisher goes out the door. Thank you. That is my speech. By the way,
somehow I don't think that's entered the discussion.
No, you know what? I'm just going to loudly insult them the whole time until they fire me. But
I don't think they're going to fire you. I think they're
I know I'm actually the person they want to keep, which is the worst part. But I'm not going to. Okay, Scott, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, the Trump administration's plan to use social media to gatekeep foreign visitors. Support for this show comes from Quince. Here's the thing about being a great gift giver. When you find something truly perfect, like truly perfect, you almost don't want to give it away. And that's what can happen with Quince. Everything's so soft and well-made, you'll be tempted to keep it all for yourself. Quince pretty much has your whole list covered. Mongolian cashmere sweaters for $50 when you'd normally pay $200 or more, the kind you'll wear on repeat. Then there's the denim that goes with everything. Silk tops and skirts when you need to pull that look together, cashmere beanies and scarves, and down jackets that actually keep you warm. And those Italian wool coats, they look designer, feel luxurious, and are made with premium materials. I've tried Quince for myself, and I wear it all the time, whether it's casual pants, a sweater, or a down coat. Find gifts so good you'll want to keep them with Quince. Go to quince.com/pivot for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/pivot to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/pivot. Scott, we're back with more news. This one, I just can't believe this. The Trump administration wants to review foreign visitors' social media history. This is ahead of the World Cup coming here. The plan would apply to citizens of 42 countries that are allowed visa-free travel to the U.S. The list of countries includes the United Kingdom, Australia, France, and Germany. The proposal is not yet final, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it will accept 60 days of comments. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? In the free speech nation, and as you said, the numbers on visitors have declined so precipitously and has sort of hollowed out. I can't believe they're even considering looking at people's social media. Like, what do you fucking care if you think Marco Rubio is dickless, which I do, and I will say on social media. This is insane from a business point of view, correct?
Like, this obsession with manufacturing, where 80% of Americans think we need more manufacturing, but only 20% of Americans have any interest in being in manufacturing. You can't take your dog to the factory floor. People don't want for the most part, people don't want to be in manufacturing. This obsession with manufacturing, and we do need a certain level of a manufacturing base, but it needs to be advanced manufacturing, high margin. But the obsession is coming at the cost of an even better, higher margin industry, and that is the tourism business.
It's insane.
And so, I just so people can fill up our comments with calling me a fascist or a weirdo or whatever.
Well, that's every Tuesday, but go ahead.
There you go. I do believe if you are applying to come here and be a citizen or get a visa or a green card, I think everything is open game. Because and young people, let's be clear, when you get a job at Goldman Sachs, before you get the offer or you apply for a job, you know what they do? They look at your social media. And if they think you're an idiot that is going to embarrass them, and you're saying misogynistic things, or you're out just rubbing your wealth in people's face, or doing shots, or acting like a total asshole, guess what? They will not give you a job. They also run credit checks on you. So there's a difference between what I call tourism, where we benefit. Vegas is dying, and there are two reasons Vegas is dying, or a lot of reasons, but one of them is we've put Vegas in everyone's pocket, but also
online betting.
Canadians were a huge source of revenue for Vegas. They're out. They're like, fuck you. You're going to treat us like assholes and take 70% of our exports, which go to you, and start being reckless with our economic well-being.
No,
yeah, we're
pissed.
done.
Yeah.
So this is yet another reason.
But who would even think of this? This is like, by the way, the First
the Stasi,
Amendment.
which is what we're becoming.
Literally, the first fucking amendment, it says you can say whatever you think. Like, he also tweeted that he's apparently incandescent over the New York Times.
The First Amendment,
let me
though,
finish.
I'm sorry, go
They
ahead.
should be able to say anything they want about the United States of America on social media, period. Full stop.
Okay, but do we have an obligation to let them in?
Yes, we do. It's just words. That's just words. They're not like...
I'm asking this to learn, not to make a comment. Does
Okay.
the First Amendment apply to people coming in temporarily?
I don't care. It applies to our whole ethos. Like, if you want to keep
Well,
people
come on,
out
Kara.
because
I'm coming to New York, and then I'm going to commit a terrorist attack against
I'm not
major
talking about
infrastructure?
committing a terrorist attack. Saying Donald Trump is an orange Nazi is fine.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm coming into the U.S. Why are you here? Well, it says on social media that you are about to activate a terrorist cell and commit acts of terror while you are here on U.S. soil. You think that's First Amendment free speech?
No, because that's not what it's about. They're going to review their foreign visitors. So but the only reason I'm pairing this together is because he was incandescent over a New York Times piece. He is, according to White House people that I talked to, he's like lost his mind, where the New York Times basically said he's old and probably, essentially has frontal lobe dementia, which I think we all can after the performance of the last 2 days.
You're going a bit off script here, but okay.
This is what he said.
Okay.
Anyone who says I'm sick is a traitor and could be tried for sedition, essentially, is what he said.
Agreed.
Words don't count. And I look, if
that's
you can,
different, Kara.
No, if they come in and they have threatened this on social media, then we stop them. We look through their bags. We say we're going to follow them. We still let them in. I'm sorry, it's just words. It's like, what if it's a teenager doing it? What if it's some angry grandma, German grandma?
We can make those judgment calls, but I don't think Americans have a birthright to live in New York. If it's too expensive, you leave. I don't think people have a birthright to just throw up their arm, unfortunately, and say asylum and gain entry into the U.S. And I don't think it's people's birthright to come in for whatever reason if they have a history and statements that appear to be a threat and are going to cost us more energy and money to track these people because we perceive they're a real threat. Having said that, I think the bar has to be pretty fucking low to gain entry to come in and spend money. And if you've said some anti-American things on your social media, okay, we should be able to assess how serious a threat it is. And the bar needs to be I don't know, really high or really low. But if you've said some anti-American things, that's probably 70% of anyone who has a social media account. And the economic benefit and the brand America, when people come to America, guess what? They have a really good time and they like us. And they find out on the whole, people who are Republicans and Democrats are pretty decent people. And then they go back and say, hey, maybe someday let's go back to Disney. Or if our kid wants to go to college in the U.S., or if a U.S. company comes here, maybe I'll do business with them. We have a vested economic and strategic and military interest, vested interest in letting people come and see how wonderful America is.
Yes, but I think what you were doing was a very edge case of a thing. They already were aware of those people. Someone who calls them Orange Hitler, come on in. Like, who cares? Like, who the fuck cares? And they don't need to investigate that person. If they don't have a history or record of crime.
I agree with that.
Which they already know before. By the way, they know the bad people that come in for the most part. It's not a secret. It's not some grandma from Germany. Like, give me a break. I mean, it's only one step to what he was saying very explicitly. If you say I'm old and sick,
you're a traitor.
You're a traitor.
Guilty of
Guess
sedition.
what? You're old and you're sick, and I think you have frontal dementia, lobe dementia. Come and get me. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, speaking of which, President Trump kicked off a series of really unusual speeches for him, even because he seemed rather low energy and meandering, intended to ease the cost of living concerns by mocking affordability. Let's listen to a clip of the speech in Pennsylvania this week.
But they have a new word. They always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability. Now, they never talk about it.
Yeah, they're talking about it now, sir. He got distracted by someone in the crowd telling him to run for 4 more years. During the speech, also suggested Americans should buy less pencils and dolls from overseas. That's an old trope he was doing. He was quite, I don't think he has Alzheimer's. I think he has this frontal lobe, because you get more aggressive and more fanciful with that one. Alzheimer's is a forgetting disease, really. But this idea of you can get your dolls elsewhere, buy less pencils, nobody cares about affordability. They must be beside themselves in the White House that he's doing this.
He ran on affordability, and 57% of voters.
Affordability. Sorry.
57% of voters agree that Trump was losing the battle against inflation. 68% believe that the economy is poor or very poor, and according to a recent Politico poll, get this: 27% of respondents have skipped a medical checkup because of costs have accelerating in the last 2 years. A quarter have skipped a prescription. A third said they could not afford to attend a professional sports event with their family or friends, and almost half said they can't pay for a vacation that involves air travel. This is the problem. Neither Democrats or Republicans want to have a serious fucking conversation around affordability. Republicans want a tariff. Democrats want to throw money at people to say, we'll short-term solve your problem. The structural answers to inflation and affordability are really boring, and the American public doesn't seem to want to elect people who are willing to have these conversations. The things that drive inflation, you start with the shit that drives the CPI. 40%, unfortunately, of middle-income homes now is going towards housing. We need, and you've said this, we need a massive increase in housing. Yeah. The next biggest cost in terms of acceleration, the 2 and 3, are education and healthcare. We need national medicine or socialized medicine, and we need tuition caps based on income of the household. But no one wants to talk about, and we need massive antitrust.
Well, it's also food, though, Scott. I was noticing, and I have plenty of money to buy food, but I was in a store the other day, and the chicken sandwich was $8, and Amanda saw one too, $8-9, like for just a basic chicken, and I was like, that's like more than minimum wage. Like everything, like even the most basic stuff is more than minimum wage. And I don't know. I don't pay attention to prices as much as I should. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. But boy, do you notice them now, because you're like,
okay.
what?
But the question is, you're saying what everyone will agree with,
right?
And that is, the rent is too damn high. Remember that mayoral candidate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We all agree. The question is, what do we do about it? And the answer is, in my view, if you're talking about a chicken sandwich, there are 3 companies controlling the majority of the poultry market. There are too few grocers and too much regulation and too much red tape that increases the cost of grocery prices. You need more competition. There are literally 7 food companies responsible for the vast majority of our food products right now. We need dramatically more.
But from a marketing
competition.
point of view, him making fun of it, I don't even understand what the theory is here, except that he has frontal lobe dementia. I don't know what else he could
See,
do.
I don't think it's fair to say he has dementia or Alzheimer's. What I think it's fair to say is he suffers from an ailment that is very obvious and is true. He suffers from 79. And we just should not have a person with their finger on the button trying to figure out tariff policy, trying to figure out, our relationship with the CCP and what chips should go and the threat they present long term.
But what do you think of him doing this, trying to make it not a thing?
It's totally ineffective.
Was pilloried for much less.
Totally ineffective. And I'm glad he's doing it because I think it plays into our hands. But at some point, the counter to that can't be just what a fucking idiot he is. Okay, agreed. It's all right. Affordability requires an adult conversation and long-term structural solutions. Are we ready for an adult conversation around housing, medical care, tuition costs, and antitrust? And the Democrats,
although I don't think mocking is a bad idea.
Where are the Democrats having this conversation? Outside of Senator Klobuchar, who's actually having this conversation, the Democrats who I have on Raging Moderates all say the same thing. This is an important conversation that we need to have at the right moment, but right now, let's make sure we get the ACA subsidies. All right, I get it.
Well, that's a cost. You don't buy insurance, but mine is going to go up quite a bit. And it was like, what could it go up to? And it wasn't.
I agree. It's insane.
It was
40% of American households have medical or dental debt.
Right.
But okay, so we have a series of Band-Aid ideas, but no one wants to talk about a structural reform in healthcare because the healthcare industrial complex is the biggest donor to PACs. I just gave a bunch of money to a young woman who just announced her campaign for Senate, and her, pretty easy to figure out.
Jasmine Crockett. Okay, yeah. I saw you online. You were like, call me Jasmine.
Yeah. I am literally like watching my parents argue. I love Tallarico and I love Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Should we invite both of them to South by Southwest to be on stage with us?
I would love that.
Let's try that.
I would love
Jasmine?
that. I think they're...
James, we'd like to have you both on stage.
I think they're both outstanding.
Scott
It breaks my heart they're running against each other.
Fighting.
Anyways, but I heard from someone on our staff saying, we'll try and find time for you to meet with the representative. And I'm like, no. People with my demographic have way too much fucking influence already. I am sending this money with one directive. Keep keeping on, girl. Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Although I'd like to see her slap you back to last Sunday. As my own entertainment. Anyway.
That's what you're here for at 73.
She would totally take it. Her announcement video was great. I like him too.
I loved her announcement video too.
People
She's getting
worried
grief for it. I
about
thought it was
fighting
great.
each other. I think that's fine. Everyone's like, oh, we've blown this out. I'm like, no, we haven't.
More hot young people like Tallarico, who, by the way, follows Instagram models, which I love. I love. Yeah. I love a guy who talks about Jesus and then is following OnlyFans
Emily
models.
Ratajkowski did ask about him. Anyway, let's go on a quick break.
I expose myself and you jab. You play with my emotions. I got so much dopa when you said, Emily Ratajkowski, and I was waiting for the end to say that she DM'd
still hasn't
you.
Asked about you. So when we come back, we'll talk about Australia's new social media ban for teens. Scott, we're back. It might be time for us to move down under. Australia's become the first country in the world to ban kids under 16 from using social media. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Reddit, and several other platforms face fines of up to $33 million if they don't take reasonable steps to remove underage users. Of course, Aussie teens are already finding workarounds. Of course, they are creating accounts with fake ages, using less popular apps, and even taking the government to court. Fine, well and good. That's what teens are there for. And here in the U.S., a Florida law banning social media accounts for kids under 14 is going into effect after surviving a court challenge. I got to say, I agree with that idiot. Remember him down in Florida, DeSantis on this. This works. Will the rest of the world follow? Now, let me just say, we give Facebook and Meta a hard time. And by the way, they are not keeping young people safe, no matter what they say. Tim Cook was on Capitol Hill this week lobbying against legislation that requires platforms to authenticate users' age, pushing instead to put the burden on parents. That both Meta and they are arguing of who's responsible. I think they're both responsible, whether the phones are or the social media sites. But putting it on parents when they make these products is just not. Is just I find really shameful for Tim Cook to do. But I know why he's doing it. I just find it shameful. Go ahead.
We just gave back in one move. Or I should say the Australian government and their leadership just gave back This was the most generous, accretive gift to kids likely in Australian history. Their time with their friends, their self-esteem, their time outside, their time playing sports, their time with their parents, their ability to navigate relationship in person, their ability to focus on their schoolwork, their test scores. The Australian government just gave back more childhood to children than any single legislation, I think, passed in the West in the last decade. And I just want to call out, I think the most influential scholar in the world right now is my colleague, Jonathan Haidt. I just don't think this would have happened without his book, The Anxious Generation. It might have happened, but it wouldn't have happened as soon. And I hope that it ignites an absolute firestorm. And they say, well, it's about parenting. Oh, fuck you, Tim Cook. Do you think it's parenting that bars should be able to serve my kid alcohol? And that it's up to me to make sure that he never gets access to alcohol?
And it is some of your responsibility. By the way, Tim Cook doesn't have children, so they don't have the difficulty of...
Okay. And here's the problem. Parenting. Okay. You don't have children when you say that.
Yeah, you
don't. Because
That's
unless it's a collective action, unless every 15-year-old is off Snap, you move in with parenting and you manage to figure out a way to use Custodio or Custodio and get them off Snap. And guess what? They're more depressed, as my other colleague, Adam Alter, did research around this, because they're ostracized because they're the only ones not on Snap. So unless this is collective action through legislation, and this is my favorite argument from Meta, that they're violating their First Amendment rights. You know what? A 14-year-old doesn't need to know. We don't need to know what a 14-year-old thinks about mRNA vaccines. I'm sorry. This is such an insane argument that they're worried about the free speech. And they say this is nothing but the following. This is Joe Camel. It was shown that the tobacco industry had a series of cartoon-like characters to try and incorporate new people into their addiction, which would continue to kill our sisters and our brothers and our mothers. And they said, sorry, you don't get to feed the pipeline with cartoon-like characters. Nor should social media, at a minimum, be allowed to spread this depression, this disassociation, and this sequestration from life and family. My fear, I would love to think this ignites similar bans around the world. I'm hopeful it does. But the problem is, in America, we are fallen to this delusion that we are a democracy. We're not. We have a passive majority that is weaponized and influenced by a very activated, sophisticated, well-funded special interest groups.
Yes.
And the special interest group around tech...
Sing it, sister.
Well, the special interest group around tech is only second to the health industrial complex in terms of money, and maybe number one right now because the entire economy and the Trump administration is making a big bet on AI. So these people have so much fucking...
Right.
We have minority rule.
The two areas that are the worst for Americans, healthcare and social media, among the worst.
100%.
Biggest lobbyists. It's in there. Let me just say,
100%.
I agree. Parents should get off their phones when they're in front of their kids. They should be more present for the kids. Absolutely, they should be more interested in what they're doing online. But it is it's too hard to use, and it's not your fault, parents. This is made. I have a hard time monitoring. I had a hard time monitoring these things. But I did it, but it was very difficult, and the tools suck. So this is their responsibility to make it so. Put warning labels on these things, explain this to kids. And again, I agree, parents should not be on their phone. Like, you have to sort of, pattern map for kids on stuff like that. Ignoring them and looking at your phones is one of those things. And so there is a parental obligation here, but for the most part, that this is on them, all of them. And it's really repulsive that all these companies have constantly abrogated their responsibilities of their shoddy products, no matter how you do it. And they are able to do it. And I know they put in all this, what if finding people, privacy. I don't care. Figure it out. You're smart people. So, and you're making a ton of money. So I'm sure you could spend some money.
Let's talk about some data in the US.
But go ahead.
All right. So Instagram earned $4 billion this year from teens aged 13 to 17. Platforms are going to earn about $13 billion from kids under 18 in 2022, which translates to about, I don't know, somewhere between $100 billion and $250 billion. So what do you know? They're worried about their First Amendment rights. 53% of children now own a smartphone by age 11. That has doubled since 2015. 3/4 of children aged 2 to 5
Yep.
engage with YouTube regularly, and teens spend 5 hours a day on social media. Where do you think that 5 hours has come from? About 35% of their waking hours outside of school. And age gating, guess what, folks? We age gate bars and restaurants serving alcohol, convenience stores, gas stations, smoke shops, tobacco, cannabis dispensaries.
Driving. Can't drive till you're 16.
Casinos, sports books, the DMV, online gambling sites, pornography, firearm retailers. Can Australia run the U.S.?
Yes, I would like to.
They
He's a
ban
really
firearms. They have a
more
super
movement.
return fund
they're very tough.
to invest.
They go out into the.
By the way, I'm going there. Did I tell you I'm
outback.
going there? I'm going there for the holidays.
Oh, nice! So
Yeah, I'm
you'll
going
love
to
it.
Sydney,
I was just
Cairns,
there.
Lizard
I was
Island,
just
Great Barrier Reef.
there this year.
Super
It was great.
excited.
I'm going for my nephew's. My nephew lives there. I'm going for his wedding next year. All right, we
You
we
always
love
have to
Australia.
one-up me. You
I'm just
always
telling
have.
you, I'm going
I'm
there.
just
No,
going to
you're gonna have
Sydney for a great
time.
New Year's party.
You're going to have a great time. It's a wonderful place.
I love Australia.
They've got myriad of problems, but a lot of other problems. But I got to say, this was a winner for these people. All right, Scott, one more quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, Scott, we're going to do something a little different today. Time just announced its Person of the Year, which everyone thought it would be the architects of AI for 2025. The cover shows Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, Fei Li, and a few others. Let me ask you, who would you have picked as the Time Person, Thing / Thing of the Year? And I will tell you my
I really
choice.
haven't thought about it. I mean, I can tell you who I'd like. I would have loved if they picked Mackenzie Bezos for a new type of giving.
Excellent choice. There you go.
I like
$7 billion she's given away this year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's definitely a different approach to what I'll call feminine giving versus masculine giving. I think the woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize is going to play a seminal role. I think Maduro is going to be. I think we're going to have regime change in Venezuela. I don't know.
Let them do it themselves. That's my feeling, but go ahead.
100%. But anyway, well, I won't go there. But give me 30 seconds. Who would you pick?
I like Mackenzie. I think Mackenzie Scott. Miss Mackenzie Scott is her full name. She doesn't use Bezos anymore. I would pick, I'm going to go pop culture, actually. I would pick K-pop Demon Hunters because
No.
I would. Here's why. Because I think, I know you don't pay attention to cultural things as much as I do, but
I don't like culture, Kara.
I love it. And so
occasionally I buy branded edibles. That's about
what
it.
happened at the Macy's parade, which everybody loved and made everybody feel good, was a moment. And in the center of that was a moment of let's all stop this hatefulness. Let's be interesting. Let's have all different. There was country people. There was all kinds of people there. It wasn't woke. It was just America. I felt really good about it. Right. I think they represent a lot of things that I think we have to get back to, which is the idea that the difference is okay. You shouldn't hide yourself. The good feeling about this country and this world, feeling good about that we are we can be. And I'm not a religious person. That we can be saved. There's a grace. There's amazing grace, and that's what the music there. And it's played on any parent on their Spotify playlist or whatever whatever music. It's K-pop Demon Hunters, which is amazing because kids are really responding to it. And so it's not just the song Golden. It's not just Take Down and everything else. It's a complex look at how difficult it is to deal with differences. And I find it to be one of the most moving cultural moments this year I want to pick Taylor Swift and Fate of Ophelia, which I loved, but I think it's a really, you can see people as they listen to it. And I know it sounds dumb, but you remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when they become the band that brings their whole thing is in the future they become this band, what was it called, Horse or whatever, which was funny, but that's what I felt like with this movie. It's like this unites people in a way I find very lovely, and so I would pick K-pop Demon Hunters. Thank you.
Did you know my big NYEO? I want to bring this back to me. I know I don't like to talk about. I don't like to talk about myself, Kara, but there was something called YEO, and I joined when I was 30 years old in San Francisco, which is supposed to be a feeder into YPO. And you get a mentor. The best part of it is you get a mentor who's a YPOer, and my mentor was the runner-up or one of the runner-ups for Person of the Year. Times Person of the Year, and it was Bob Swanson. Do you remember him?
No.
He was the founder of Genentech.
Oh, okay. All right.
And he
I thought
met
that was
me.
Craig, whatever you call it.
We met and the loveliest guy. I mean, this is a guy very busy, right? And he said, we met, we had lunch, and he said, and I said, I had just started Profit, this strategy firm. And he said, he goes, how can I be the most helpful? I'm like, I sort of know what I'm doing, but I really don't. And he said, well, I have an idea. I'll just shadow you for a day. Yeah. He met me in my office, actually met me at the gym. I worked out every day from 7 to 8. He met me at the gym, picked me up, took me to my office, and he just shadowed me for a full day. Meetings, client meetings. And he's a fairly kind of quiet, he was sort of shorter guy, carried a few extra pounds, just sort of I don't want to say blended in, obviously a genius. And he just shadowed me the whole day. And at the end of the day, he sat me down and he'd taken a bunch of notes. And he said, okay, great leaders listen more than they talk. You are not a great leader yet. You want to impress everybody. You're talking too much. He said, he had all these things that have stuck with me my whole life. He said, you don't understand the difference between being right and being effective. He's like, you're right a lot,
which you have, yeah,
but you're too aggressive and you're turning off people. You got to think about, how am I effective here? And he just gave me a series of things. Anyways, that was my mentor story.
Oh my God, that's a wonderful story.
Oh, you know who I would pick? Just to stick my finger in Putin's eyes, I'd pick Navalny.
That's a great idea. Yeah, there's all kinds of people. This is sort of an antiquated thing, the person of the year, but it still kind of works because it makes you think about things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we do not think the architects of AI deserve it. I don't, at least. I think there's a much more uplifting story about to happen over the next year.
Such a snooze.
I'm telling you, it is. I know,
Such
architects of AI.
You're
kidding.
What, though, realistically, who it should be?
What?
It should probably be Jensen Huang.
No,
I hate it when they have multiple people or they don't pick a person.
No, he's just able to wear his coat and act like a lesbian and kiss up to Trump. No.
He's built a pretty important company.
I understand, but I'm not. Time will tell, as they say. Anyway, you've got to get going because you arrived late and you've got to leave early. But we want to hear from you. Send us your questions about business, tech, or whatever's on your mind. Go to nymag.com/pivot to submit a question for the show or call 85551-PIVOT. Elsewhere in the Karen Scott universe, this week on Prof G Conversations, Scott spoke with Tristan Harris, former Google design ethicist and co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology. I know him well. He's fantastic. Let's listen to a clip.
The U.S. beat China to the technology of social media. Did that make us stronger or did that make us weaker? If you beat an adversary to a technology that you then don't govern in a wise way, and you instead, you build this gun, you flip it around, you blow your own brain off, which is what we did with social media. We have the worst critical thinking test scores, mental health, anxious, depressed generation in history. And it's a confusing picture because GDP is going up, but sort of cancer is going up too. So it's like we have the Magnificent Seven, we're profiting from all the wealth of these companies, but it's actually not being distributed to everybody except those who are invested in the stock market. And that profit is based on the degradation of our social fabric.
I love that guy. He's been going at this for a long time.
Yeah, he's been doing it. He's kind of the original gangster of all things that are not right in Mudville.
They are. You are absolutely right, and they can't stand it. But he's been right then, and he's right now, and that was great. That's a terrific thing he said.
The nicest part of the interview was I asked him who's been most influential in his life, and he said that his mother, and that she was nothing but pure love, which I really like.
Oh, lovely.
He's a nice man.
That would appeal to you, I'm sure. And before we go, I'm interviewing Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO of Uber, and Chris Urmson, the CEO of Aurora, live on stage at the Hopkins Bloomberg Center in Washington, D.C. on Monday, December 15th. These are going to be two really sharp conversations about applied AI and autonomous vehicles. I'm very excited. Chris was the original Google autonomous car projects at Google. I think he's great too. And both of them, I've known Dara for a long time, really smart thinkers. To register for free tickets, Google Hopkins and Kara Swisher. Okay, that's the show. Thanks for listening to Pivot, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back next week. Scott, read us out.
Today's show is produced by Lara Naaman, Zoë Marcus, and Taylor Griffin. Ernie Intertot engineered this episode. Rich Shibley edited the video. Thanks also to Drew Bros, Mr. Vera, and Dan Shalon. Nishat Kurwa is Vox Media's executive producer of podcasts. Make sure to follow Pivot on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks for listening to Pivot from New York Magazine and Vox Media. You can subscribe to the magazine at nymag.com/pod. We'll be back next week for another breakdown of all things tech and business.